Hi, so in this video I'm going to tell you about the third stage of solving Rubik's Cube using the Thistlethwaite Heise algorithm. The first part of this algorithm is going to consist of fixing the corners. So we're going to position the corners in the right spots. They're already oriented so that orange and red are on the top and bottom, but we're going to put them in the right spots, correctly oriented. And the second part of what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of any green or blues that are on the front and back. So not only will the corners be placed correctly, but these edge pieces will also not have, will not be in the incorrect color. So they'd either be yellow or white on the front and back. Let's begin with the corners. We're going to do this in pairs. So we're going to try to get pairs of corners that are adjacent, like this. We have these two red pairs that are next to each other. Let's work with the red corners. So these two are next to each other, and these two are next to each other. This is actually a very easy case because we want to move all the red corners into the top slice. And we can do this using double turns only in this case. So at this stage, you're allowed to do quarter turns of the top and bottom, but only double turns of the right and left. And in principle, you should also only do double turns of the front and back because you don't want those red or oranges to end up on the sides. So just to repeat what I just said, you're allowed to do quarter turns of the top and bottom, but in principle, you should avoid any quarter turns of the left or right or front or back. Now, of course, we aren't computers, so we can't memorize all the millions of algorithms that are needed to be able to do the algorithm that strictly. So you'll see that sometimes we will, in fact, do a quarter turn of maybe the left or right side that we'll later repair. But in principle, that's how the algorithm works, that at this stage, the only quarter turns we allowed are of the top and bottom. Okay, so back to what we were saying, we want to get these red corners up on the top. And now you see that they're opposite these other red corners. So we don't want them in the same slice because obviously if we do a double turn of the slice, then it's just going to move these red corners to the bottom. So let's get these red corners to the back slice, and then we can do a double turn of that slice to bring all the red corners into the top. Okay, so that just really involves doing quarter turns or double turns, possibly quarter turns of the top and bottom. As I mentioned, that's probably the easiest case that you would encounter. You might get a case where there's just one isolated red corner in the bottom, or the red corners are opposite each other. So let's see how something like this might happen. So how would we do this? So something like this. Okay, there's one red corner by itself, and let me get a red corner opposite it. So something like this. Okay, so this is a different orientation of the cube a different case that you might encounter at this stage, where you have red corners that are not next to each other. These two are already next to each other, so that's good. But these two are not. And so what we're going to do here is basically, well, we're going to break this up. So we're going to move this up to the top and then work with this as one of our pairs. And now we're going to move this one so that it's adjacent to the one in the bottom. And you see that if you do a double turn of this face, it's going to also be opposite this one. So what we could do is turn this. So let me say that again. So if we bring this one down to the bottom, it's not going to be adjacent to this one, unless we move this so that it's now adjacent to the spot where this one will end up when we do a double turn. Okay. So this is just a matter of turning the top and bottom by quarter turns until things are positioned correctly, like this. so that when you do a double turn, in this case of the front face, it brings those red corners next to each other. Okay, now we want to move these red corners to the top. So we see that the missing red corners are in the front slice. So we're going to move those to the front slice and then do a double turn. And now all the corners on the top are red corners and all the corners on the bottom are orange. Okay, at this point, we are going to position the corners correctly. And once again, there's an algorithm which we are going to repeat a number of times if necessary. And it's also going to be an algorithm where we're going to change the position and orientation of the cube so that certain specific things happen. And the first thing I'm looking for is a pair of corners with the same colors facing the front. So here I have two white corners. That's exactly where I want them on the top layer and in the front. If you look around the corner, around the cube, there aren't any other such pairs on the top. In the bottom, let's see, we've got one pair and we don't want that to be in the front or back. So make sure that that pair is off to the side and there aren't any other pairs of corners that are matched. Okay, so with this particular orientation, in the upper slice, this is the front that's facing us. We want to have that matching pair. And now we're going to carry out the algorithm, which goes like this, right inverse, front, right inverse, and then back two, and then reverse what we just did. So right, front, inverse, right. And now, if you look around the top, everything is solved. All the corners are actually solved. They're in fact in their correct position, or if they're not, we could just do quarter turns. So white, white, green, green, yellow, yellow, and blue, blue. On the bottom, these are also matched, but nothing else is going to be matched. So these are not matched, not matched, not matched. Okay, so we're going to repeat the algorithm, but we're going to use the opposite orientation. In other words, now everything's solved on the bottom, and we have a solved pair on the top, and we're going to keep that in the back. So facing us, we're going to have a pair of non-matching corners. With these non-matching corners, we're going to perform the algorithm. So right inverse, front, right inverse, back to right, front inverse, and right. And now, if you take stock, well, it looks like we've made a total shambles. All the corners are mixed up. But lo and behold, we have one more algorithm up our sleeves. We're going to do right two, front two, right two. And this has actually fixed everything. So everything should now be fixed. We have a pair of matching. We want to look for matching colors of the corners all around. So matching, 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 and on the bottom as well, everything matches. So now it's just a matter of doing quarter or double turns to get all the right corners into their right positions. And that's it. So we have now solved the corners. Okay. The final part of this stage, as I mentioned before, is to get rid of the blue or green edges, which will be in this middle slice between left and right, either on the front or back. And I once again in the easiest possible case, so I'll show you how to mix this up in a second, but I'll first show the main algorithm. So what we want here is we want the white or yellow that are missing from the front to be in the bottom slice, one on the right and one on the left. And that's exactly where these are. So you get them there. If they aren't, they would be in the top slice in this position using double turns. Okay. And then we want the blue and green pieces that are missing, one to be in the front and one to be in the back, also in the top slice. And that isn't what we've got right now. So we're going to use double turns to move this piece to the back. And now it's in the top. It's still in the top. This one we can easily move to the top as well, like that. So this is the orientation for the final stage of this part of the algorithm where we replace these edge pieces. Now, so we have the white and yellow opposite each other on the sides, and the blue and green opposite each other on the top. Remember, blue and green are interchangeable in our minds at this point. So these could both be blue, or that one could be green, one could be blue, both could be blue. And same for yellow and white. Now we're going to do a quarter turn of the bottom, a double turn of the middle slice, which can also be thought of as double turns of the right and left. And then we're going to reverse what we did before by doing a quarter turn of the down slice. Okay, that's fixed up our front and back in the sense that we have white and yellow crosses on the front and back, and blue and green on the sides. In fact, all the colors are now either in pairs, right? Orange and red on the top and bottom, green and blue on the left and right, and white and yellow on the front and back. But you may notice that the corners have been messed up. Using double turns, we can correct this. And if you notice, these ones can be moved to the top, and then we can do a double turn, and that has corrected all the corners. And now we're in a position to perform stage number 4. Before we do that, let me just tell you about the other cases that may show up. It's possible that you may just have one edge piece that's blue or green in the front and back, and one white or yellow on the sides. This is not a situation which we can solve with a single algorithm. In fact, we make the situation a little bit worse by getting 2 green or blue on the front and back, and white and yellow on the sides, and then then carry out the algorithm in the form in which we just did. So I'm gonna mess this up a little bit by changing the setup. Okay, so here's what I was talking about. I don't have any blues or greens here. There's one yellow over there. There are no blues or greens there, so there must be one over there. So there you have it. So you have a blue on this side and a yellow over there. So there's just one. And it is possible to repair because you just undo what I did over there. But for the sake of simplicity, if we want to just have as few algorithms as possible, we want to use the algorithm that I explained before from this point onwards. So how would we do this? Well, basically, if these are in the same slice, we carry out that algorithm, and now we've got now we're in the situation that we were in before, where we have 2 edge pieces on the sides that need to be in the front or back. Okay, so remember that you want the blue and green opposite each other on the top, and the white and yellow opposite each other on the sides, and then you carry out the algorithm, which is down inverse, middle 2, and then down. Right, and so that is the end of stage 3.